Good morning and welcome to the Help Yourself podcast. And today, all the way from sunny Australia, I have Susan Altschwager. Thank you, Susan, so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so excited to hear all about the new story. Would you like to just introduce yourself briefly around what it is you do, and then I'll get stuck in with all the questions I'm dying to know the answers to.
Great. Well, thank you for asking me to be a part of the podcast. Here in Australia, I live down the bottom of Australia. It's called South Australia. And as most people know, Australia is a very big country. So where we are is quite cool. And often I'll do Zoom calls. And I got to know about you I do a 12-week program in part of my work around the new story that's taking place for humanity. And a young woman who knows you told me about you, and then that's how we connected.
Who was that?
That was Vida.
Vida, yes. Vida, that's how she told me about you. And actually, she did a retreat at the farm, the Healing and Retreat Centre, on the new story. And I was like, this is powerful, powerful stuff. And also, it's time. We need a new story. Absolutely.
So time. She's an amazing student teacher. So I felt totally grateful when I know she's already up on going forward with this new story. So if you ask me some questions, and I'll dig deeper about my own reality.
Let's just talk briefly about family constellations, because that's how I met Vida, because she leads and teaches people how to facilitate it, but she also leads retreats. And I think we're all aware now about the ancestral trauma that we can be carrying and holding. And we might be aware of it, but we also might not be aware of it. So the whole family system and the importance of everybody's place in it, regardless of the story. So I suppose when it moved, the kind of idea that there's a new story, the way I see it, is it's a new way to perceive what we're doing here. and how we can be be healthier and happier.
I've been doing family constellation work probably over 15 years, doing trainings and workshops, facilitating weekends, one-on-ones, and it has been about what I call the basic work, which is often around trauma, going what's behind us, what is stopping us going forward. The work was introduced from Bertelinger from Germany many, many years ago, and I have absolutely loved this work. But before that came into my life, I had an experience over 36 years ago that I didn't talk much about until now. And this experience was, I had fashion shops. I was not looking for anything. I didn't know what meditation was. And I was out in nature one day, and like a being presented himself to me and said, I'm not your teacher. I'm here for the transformation for humanity. In a very short time, energetically, it was like mega volts of electricity running through my body. I never connected to that being again, but within days, extraordinary ancient knowledge started to come through me, and I hated it.
Was it not scary?
I had no understanding. I was lipstick, fashion, good time, like beautiful family, 3 kids, not looking or searching for any deep and meaningful of life. And from that experience, it took me a long time to I call the first 5 years a nightmare, because really what I understand now, that was a high vibration. And, you know, as a humanity, we're vibrating at a certain level. When that being interacted with me, then the vibration in my body just spun up. So for me to be able to just exist, it was quite a nightmare time. But quickly going through that acceptance and surrendering, and it sounds quick, and it was tough going. And then years in my life, family constellations came in my life, and I fell in love with it. And I used to often say, when I did the constellation work, I'm here, I called it for the new story. I'm not here for constellations, but my constellation business just kept growing. And when COVID hit, I thought maybe I'm retiring. I'm heading on to 72. I thought maybe I'm retiring. Happy. And there was a part of me that could not go back into the work I'd been doing. If I was to stay in constellation work, I needed to create a new space for myself that would hold the ancient memory that's taking place in many thousands of people at this time. So what I say, there's many, many people feeling the ancients breathing through us. And there is many, many people feeling connected to vibrational frequency alignment. Many, many people that are feeling the deep communication with the mother. Many people feeling they know there's change happening. And so holding that, I call that the evolutionary call. Evolution is calling to us, asking more of us, the acceleration, expansion of human consciousness. And some of the work constellations can do here is support us to embody and to land it, give it a voice, because I use the same principles. They're those orders of love, acknowledging what is, being an empty vessel when you're a rep. So trying to bring it down and land in us so that we can bring through this high vibe energy, that we can bring through what I call this new story, this call of evolution in a place that this world definitely needs at the moment. When I teach, what I say, we are the generation that live in transition. So we're the generation that live in two worlds, still the old and the new. And often that is not an easy journey. And with that, if we begin to understand that the old story's destruction is not the new story, for us to keep looking at that old story with all our judgments, with all its rights and wrongs, with all wanting it to be different, is not creating this new expansion of reality that is available to each of us at this time. So, because what I say, the evolutionary call is not our personal choice, much bigger than us, but it moves through us. It is through us, but it doesn't come from us. It comes from the larger systems that are now entering our human system. And I could go on for hours, but...
Yeah, but so can I just sort of intervene a little bit here for clarity? Because, you know,
yeah,
I think if you're into this work, it's all very clear. You're like, well, we can either stay in the victim perpetrator judgment consciousness, or we can just expand out and say, no, look, we need to see something else right now, because clearly what we've been doing hasn't been working. So the
No.
old story was the kind of revenge model and holding people accountable and, judging, complaining, blaming, shaming, as I always go on. And I think we're seeing that clearly with what's happening in Israel and Gaza right now. And so, and I think we can all understand the horror and the evil of that. But then what do you do with that? Do you stay in the
Exactly.
old way of dealing with it? Or would can we move into a new way of seeing and perceiving this that would hopefully have a greater outcome for everybody involved rather than the winner and the loser kind of thing? Is that what you're kind of seeing?
That is absolutely it. I woke up this morning because I have noticed this trouble over there most things can happen on the planet and I can just stay very balanced and doesn't touch me or that because I really concentrate on holding that new. But this stuff has touched me. It's huge. And for me, it's like the only thing I can do for those children. I'm no side. The only thing I can do for those people is hold this space, what we're talking about. Because what this is humanity. This isn't right and wrong. This is so big, so too much even for us to comprehend.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But it is touching us. And for me personally, it's actually even getting me to stand up stronger. Because, and I was speaking to another woman today and she felt the same. It is, all we can do is all of us have a unique place in bringing something new through. And it's being able to find this, I call it the summoning. We have this purpose woven in us about this time. It's weaved in this timeline on Earth. And we've had to have courage because people tell me they've just hidden away, they've pretended they're someone else, they've wear a mask, they have all this extraordinary stuff taking place with them and they have no place to land it, no place to give it a voice, no one to respect it, no one to even honour their journeys. They stay in silence out of fear of ridicule because this is huge, extraordinary potential here in the field. And it's from a reality that's not in our intellect. It is much bigger and it's much bigger than our intellect. And our intellect will still keep demanding. And there's no answers there.
Absolutely.
It's this deeper part of us, this much, much deeper part of us. And to me, that is the only way through to something new. And I feel the children of this world and future generations are like begging, asking, I call it looking into our eyes, saying, have the courage to stand up. This is all new, different. It's really not a new story. It's the ancient story. It's so old. It's connected to a vibration that connects us to all of life, like a high vibration of love. It is so ancient. It's ancient, 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 ancient. But
And
it's new to us.
why do you think it is so easy for us to imagine the worst, which we're pretty much seeing playing out? And yet when somebody comes with this, there's another way to perceive this, and we can actually be as you say, the conduits to allow this new way to have BC.
And Lilia,
that's so much more difficult to actually for people to, because it's almost like we're so tired and browbeaten. It's to have the energy to even, well, what if?
That's why we need your work. That's why we need communities. That's why we need daily rituals to ground it. I still have some days of going, oh, not as many, you know. Is
Yeah.
this real? And that's not as many, but I used to have lots of days like that. And so it's taken me, I think, 30 years to even be grateful for my knowing.
Yeah.
I hated it. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what I could do with it. At the beginning, I didn't believe a word of it.
Really?
And
Yeah, I suppose 30 odd years ago. How could you have
and
perceived this?
I didn't swear much until that happened to me. So I had this amazing, what people call a spiritual experience. Well, my God, did I learn to swear? Because it was all too much. It was like, but now I just feel that much gratitude. And the other thing I feel, we have the opportunity to energize hope for the future.
100%.
Energizing hope for our kids, grandkids.
Absolutely. If you don't have any hope or any faith, I believe that's a big problem of why people are suicidal and anxious,
Yes.
etc. Because they're disconnected, aren't they? Here.
Yeah.
But tell us about the being. Did you physically see the being?
People always say that. It's like I only saw this being once. His name said he was Anton.
Anton.
I could describe him. It was like he had this long hair. I didn't know whether I believed him when I saw him or not. You don't know if you look. Remember, I was fashion. I
Yeah.
just,
You were in the material world.
very much. Loved my life. Loved my life. Was not looking for anything at all. And so I have just been to Ireland, and I had 8 days there with my Irish ancient heritage.
Okay.
And what I learned there and understand, the same wisdom keepers are coming through there. That happened, they talk about the tour that's under the ground, under the earth, civilization under the earth. Same stuff. I believe that being is a civilization in a place that the logic of our mind would say, what a whole lot of, But I believe we are infants to understand the bigger picture. We are infants in understanding the bigger picture. And what I connected to in Ireland was these groups of people are doing the same. They're bringing this ancient through them for the purpose of the acceleration of consciousness. So this is happening all over the planet. There needs to be more conversation. It needs to be louder. We need to reach a place where there's credibility so that our children hang on to some sort of, strength in our systems.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what we're looking at, really, I watched a video on one of the sons of one of the Hamas leaders, and he was saying we have to have a complete change in our belief systems. Because, until that happens, people still, and people are scared to speak out in case they get ridiculed, blamed, shamed, or they get an label put on them. When in actual fact, now what we're seeing is people that have got the courage to speak out, regardless of whether you're ridiculed or not.
Because I say, this is my lived experience. No one can take it away from me. At the beginning, I wish they could have. No one can take it away. It's a lived experience. It's nothing I've learned. And I say to many others I meet, honor your lived experience. It is not learnt from the intellect. Your body, your cells, your blood, every part of you has lived it. The knowing is within your bones. It's living through you. So no one can touch it. We just need to support each other, to hold it, to bring it through. And I feel the greatest place is in community.
100%.
Because totally it's not about one leader. We're all leading this through.
Yeah. Well, we're
We're
about to
all
embark
leading.
at the weekend on a tour of Scotland with women's goddess gatherings. Vida's going to be
Oh,
here at Edinburgh and Glasgow. So we're going to, and actually, you used the actual term, the tour is called Enter the Field of Inner Knowing. So taking people on a journey, into the inner verse. Because I think the way I see it as well is, who can you trust? What information do you trust? There's, people saying this one thing over here and people saying the complete opposite over here. So we are actually now, we're having to go in. We're having to go in because there we can get information that we can trust. Once you learn and
yeah,
appreciate the kind of electromagnetic nature of our interaction with the field, and how the story is coming, whether we like it or not. I think a lot of us still think we can control things, and it's
no,
completely out with control. It's coming, so you can enjoy the ride or you can resist it. And that's where the suffering, as with anything, the suffering comes from the resistance to what is. And I
and
think
and that's why I love constellations, because that's one of the strongest things, acknowledging what is. So I
exactly.
woke up one day and I thought, God, I can take this constellation world out to this evolutionary call, this new story, just putting the what is, putting the principles, doing that so that it can feel like you can kind of feel it in your body when you're doing constellation work. So issues that you're having in the transition, we can have a look at, just like we would look at normal issues in a family constellation. Issues that one of the greatest things, you just spoke about it before, what we are being asked to do is let go of everything we know.
It's
Our opinion has absolutely no consequences of the evolutionary call. It's like the pulse of it is in our heartbeat. The electromagnetic fields are part of the Mother Earth's electromagnetic fields, and we think our opinion can control this, or the surrendering and the letting go can be quite painful. And we need support doing that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. And it takes, that's my main passion, is teaching people how to let go. And it still amazes me, even for myself, how we want to cling on. I always say we're like hanging on to the old story because that's what we know and what's going to be there when we
Mm.
release that. And that's where the courage comes in, isn't it? And that's where the community comes in. So I'm
Community.
excited to have Vida at the goddess gatherings, because I think we're all understanding that. I think in the West, we're not really, we don't even know anything about our ancestors a lot of the time.
No,
You know,
I didn't know anything before I started any of this.
yeah, and it's crazy. And in Indigenous communities, they're looking 5 up and 5 down, at
Mm.
least. They're very,
Ah,
very
mm,
aware of the system, and that's the language you guys use, which I really like. Because we all know we need systems. We need to understand systems in order for anything to work. So,
mm.
and also I tend to work with usually, but not 100% always, but usually young women with children that have been diagnosed incurable or terminal. So
Wow.
that is and to actually ask them to unhear what they've heard
Yes.
from other people's points of view through that kind of Newtonian model of physics. It's so challenging. And, again, so I see they come to me and I spend an hour unhooking them, and then they go back into the system and they go
I
back.
know.
So I can literally see people going, faith, fear, faith, fear, and how the fear is the thing that, it's like, oh my God, even if you are going to cross the veil, do it in a different way,
Yeah.
because that also is a choice. But our whole system, and I think we saw that during COVID, it's terrified people to instigate 2 emotions, anger and fear. And then you
Yeah.
have got complete control and you'll get them to do whatever
Mm.
you want. It's crazy. And now the way I see the kind of news story and fifth dimension, if you like, whatever terminology, it's that we actually can unhook from our suffering
Yes.
by seeing
Yes.
this enormous bigger picture, which is too much for our conscious minds really to comprehend, but a willingness to open your mind and say, well,
our willingness to let go, like you surrender, and allow ourselves to be taken
yes,
on an unknown pathway.
yes,
We need each
yes.
other to do that, because that's some of the journey I've walked 35 years ago. And yeah, and now I feel blessed that I did, so that I now feel most of my work now for this decade in my life is to assist people that I call them the new wisdom keepers, or the wisdom holders, or the pioneer, whatever the name what people are going to put on people, to shine a light so they find their uniqueness to stand up. You know,
Do you find that, because I've got a friend who had a very powerful experience similar to yours, and she started to really commune and communicate with the plants and the herbs and the medicines.
yeah,
And but because she doesn't have the traditional training, you
ah,
know, that people don't get, but I know because you can feel it in your heart. I watched her with the plants and the herbs and just going, oh my God. But I mean, it's been chaotic for her because the body, the amount of electricity that's been coming through her to allow
me
that
too.
information is that made her
Yeah.
very sensitive.
Mm.
But so I think that's the other thing. It's like, well, because we're like, well, who are you? What kind of expert are you? And where did you get your information from? Well, not from other human beings.
No,
And
like I
if you
said,
don't understand that there's other,
it was just my personal journey.
exactly.
It's not in a book. It's
Yeah.
like it was the opening up to extraordinary ancient wisdom that I battled with, and you know, and then
Yes.
another 35 years of being able to hold it in a space that I'm able to stand up in it, because I just done a new meditation, because I'm having a workshop in a couple of weeks. Wanting to give information without, like, trying to give words with vibration rather than separation. So it's like having awareness that we are the generation that live in these two worlds. First of all, allowing what is, and that is very much acknowledging that. And through that, sometimes our information, you can hear it all out there, as we open up to a bigger picture, it's often entwined still with our old stories and our old traumas. So the information can then start separating people more. And
Yes,
then
absolutely.
it's spoken about, oh, this is the big picture, and it's all it's doing is separating people more. So
And
it's
you can
been
see that
so what I
left or
say,
right. Yeah.
often the new story even isn't words, it's vibration. It's vibration of wholeness of all of life. And
Yeah.
so
I love that vibration of wholeness. I was saying to the girls this morning, we need to come up with a phrase for the goddess gathering tour. And I think you might just have given me one, the vibration of wholeness. And
I just
because
love that you're all doing that.
yes, I know, it's so exciting. And, I think because for me, I'm a nutritionist. I was a fitness instructor since I was very young, and I used to think it was all about the food and the exercise, which of course is important. But now I'm just seeing, oh my God, it's way, way, way more than that. And absolutely, like you, it's community and altruism that will get us through this.
Mm.
Because, and I'm lucky because during COVID, I had a strong team of people who saw it the way I saw it. And so therefore I was held and I had people to talk to. Whereas not everybody had that. Some people were kind of like going, why are you all falling for this? And that was really difficult for them because they couldn't speak out because they
No.
didn't have anybody who saw it the same way as they did. And I suppose
Yeah.
this is the thing now but again, it's moving past that judgment of what we perceive people trusted. I think that was a biggest sin. And can you really
Yeah.
blame anybody for that? And that we move through this story now together.
Yeah.
And that,
And
that
for a
actual
moment,
incident has kick-started the awakening process for so many people to see the corruption and how the biggest wealth heist in human history. You're like, right, okay, maybe something's going on here. And even if it's not a conspiracy, let's look at how unfair this system is and let's make a change. And that's going
yes,
to
and let's look at, are we going to spend all our time looking at that old system?
yeah,
Because that is not the new system.
no,
And the distraction of that isn't even the new
I
system.
know, I know.
The new system is our bodies being able to take on high vibration. The new system is when we can hold this bigger picture in a place of wholeness. The new we got some work here, and that's what we need to concentrate on. We need to be going, this is the new, and bow down to everything that's been.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for the gifts. Right, now we're going this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And allow it to grow through us. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think because it's going to happen anyway, and we can either, stand up with courage. And I always feel that people that come to any event, any workshop or any seminar or any retreat, they're the people that have already gone, I'm going to actually
yes.
do something about it. I'm taking action. And I've shown up because we know that some people, quite simply right now, don't have the energy or the heart, the ability to stand up. So the people who are able, have to do it.
Yeah.
And then we can make it fun. My God, you see that new story. Why on earth would you not be excited to bring it forward?
Laugh, and we need to laugh, and we need to just support each other and love each other. And
100%.
This is not about who's the great. This is about future generations living through a different time.
Yeah. What are we going to leave for our grandchildren?
It's more than self. This movement is more than self. It's not about, see, some people say to me, but I can't do this because I haven't healed myself. Well, the evolutionary call's not going to wait for everything to be healed, for every trauma to be healed. It's just there's more trauma being made out there every second. It's like, it's not going to wait for that. We are living in this time. It's the time we are born, time for us to own it. It's extraordinary. Let's hold each other while we walk this journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough. I am so inspired and excited by your message. And it's exactly, I mean, Vida and I, very, very similar. I think for me, I learned the Sedona method. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
What method?
The Sedona method.
Yes.
It's very similar to the kind of philosophy around it, and the kind of big picture of it is very similar. And taking responsibility for yourself. So it really resonates, the family constellations, because it's a form of letting go and being able to see the bigger picture instead of being in this poor me consciousness. You're like, right.
Yeah.
That's why this happened. And owning, I suppose, your part in it, which, as we all know, is much easier for some than others, depending on what story you've been part of. So it's not to take away from the pain and suffering that some people go through. But where are we going now with this? Because, playing the victim is no longer serving us. We have to find a way, and that's why we have to do it together. So that I call it the power grid. We create the power grid and we lift each other out of that suffering into this new potential.
It's the only thing we can do to support the humanity state that's happening over in Palestine is the only thing we can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only
Absolutely.
thing that we find this more strength in ourselves because of their suffering, and owning that strength for the children and for future children and families, and it's a humanity thing taking place. And yeah, I just feel it's so big, it's touching many of us, and our heart is hurting for every single one, no sides.
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. Absolutely.
mm.
So you do stuff online. If anybody listening to this, we'll put your details and people
Yeah,
can connect
I've
with
got a
you.
new program starting in next April online.
Uh-huh.
It's called the Walking the Unknown Journey Together, and that's a
Nice.
12-week. And
Uh-huh.
I'll have different workshops online, and
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Fantastic. So
And
you can send me
I
your
just need people's. The other thing I have, Vida comes once a month. We have a cafe. It's just free. It's no cost, and it's a cafe tomorrow, Wednesday nights. Is acknowledgement of the new reality on Earth, and so that we have that every single Monday night, but it is in Australian time. But
yes.
Vida comes to it,
Uh-huh.
so I
Uh-huh.
don't. Mm,
Yes. Right. Well, you can send me the links for that and I'll get them on the podcast details so that people
yeah,
can connect. And I'm so delighted that we've got Vida here,
yeah,
telling your story, the new story, and she's going to be at the Goddess gatherings as well. Because again, the complex systems that as human beings are, we need to be looking at how
yeah.
different ways we can unhook and take the straws off the camel's back so that this
Because we need the
doesn't.
systems.
Yes, exactly.
We're
Well,
all
listen,
systems.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you
So thank
so, so much. It's been
and
fantastic
give
to meet you.
Vida a big personal hug.
I certainly will
But
do
as
that.
I haven't seen her in the physical. Mm.
Have you never met her physically?
No.
Not yet. No. Yeah, well, we definitely need to be getting this story out. So I'll be back
Mm.
in touch for sure.
Yeah.
But for now,
Well,
thanks so much, Susan.
I love it. I feel connected to you. I love what you're saying. I love what you're doing in the world. Keep
Thank
doing it.
you. Thank you
Mm.
so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
chat soon.
Lots of love.